The phone slipped from my trembling grasp, clattering onto the kitchen tiles. What I had just read sent a chilling dread through me, freezing my blood. My 12-year-old daughter, Emma, wasn't merely exchanging texts with friends about school assignments or slumber parties. She was conversing with a 34-year-old man who referred to her as his special girl and promised to reveal what genuine affection truly felt like. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your location. A perverse string of internet jargon mimicking a shocking reveal. I retrieved the shattered device, its screen still displaying those sickening messages. How long had this been unfolding? How could I have missed the warning signs? Emma had grown more secretive recently, guarding her phone as if it contained top-secret intelligence. But I attributed it to the early stirrings of teenage autonomy. "Dad, what are you doing with my phone?" Emma's voice from the doorway startled me. She stood there in her soccer uniform, grass stains adorning her knees, appearing so guileless and youthful that my heart fractured into countless pieces. "Emma, sweetheart, we need to talk." I attempted to keep my voice steady, yet the tremor betrayed me. Her face blanched. She knew. She realized I had seen everything. "It's not what you think," she whispered, stepping back. "Marcus understands me. He's not like the mean, stupid boys at school. He's mature, and he says I'm mature too." Marcus, the predator, now had a name. "Emma, please sit down." I pulled out a kitchen chair, my mind oscillating between protective rage and the desperate need to manage this correctly. One false move could shatter her trust forever, potentially pushing her directly into this monster's embrace. She sat, but her posture was defensive. Arms crossed, jaw set in that stubborn way that so reminded me of her mother. My ex-wife, Jessica, would surely handle this better. Emma had always confided in her, but Jessica was 3,000 miles away in California, pursuing her new life with a yoga instructor boyfriend. "How did you meet Marcus?" I inquired, striving to keep any judgment from my tone. "Online, in a gaming forum. He helped me with this really difficult level, and we just started talking." Emma's voice grew softer with each word. "He's really smart, Dad. He's been to college, and he has his own apartment and a good job." My stomach churned. This was classic grooming behavior. Target a lonely child, build trust, and make them feel unique and grown up. Emma had struggled since the divorce 2 years prior, caught between two homes, never quite feeling fully a part of either. "What kind of things does he say to you?" I scrolled through additional messages, each one making me feel sicker than the last. This individual, Marcus, was methodically cultivating intimacy, inquiring about her day, her emotions, and gradually introducing more adult subjects. He says I'm not like other girls my age, that I'm smart and pretty, and that most adults don't understand kids like us. Emma's defiance was crumbling, replaced by uncertainty. He says he wants to meet me this weekend, at the mall. The mall. My hands clenched into fists. This depraved individual was planning to abduct my daughter. I could discern the progression in the messages, how he had escalated from casual conversation to discussions of special secrets and their special relationship. "Emma, honey, I need you to listen to me very carefully." I knelt beside her chair, making direct eye contact. "Marcus isn't who he claims to be. Men his age don't befriend 12-year-old girls because they're mature. They do it because they intend to harm you." Tears welled in her eyes. You don't understand. You never understand. Mom would get it. Then let's call Mom together right now. I reached for my phone, but Emma seized my wrist. No, you'll both just make it worse. You'll embarrass me and ruin everything. And Marcus will think I'm just a stupid little kid after all. The manipulation was working perfectly. This predator had convinced my daughter that the adults who loved her were the adversaries, while he was her sole ally. The sheer cunning of it made my blood boil. Emma, I love you more than my own life. Everything I do is to protect you. I pulled her into a hug, feeling how small and fragile she truly was. But right now, you're in danger. Real danger. She pulled back, scrutinizing my face. For the first time since discovering the messages, I saw fear flicker in her eyes. What kind of danger? I was about to respond when my phone vibrated with a text from my brother, Jake. He was due to pick up Emma for her weekend visit with him and his family. Jake didn't realize it yet, but his Navy SEAL training was about to become acutely relevant to our family crisis. The message read, "Running late. Be there in 20. Everything okay?" Everything was undeniably not okay. But perhaps, just perhaps, Jake was precisely who we needed at this moment. I spent the next 18 minutes before Jake's arrival delving deeper into Emma's phone. And what I unearthed made me want to smash my fist through the wall. Marcus hadn't just been grooming my daughter. He had been meticulously studying her. He knew her schedule, the names of her friends, her favorite restaurants, even the route she took walking home from school. Emma, I need you to go to your room and pack your bag for Uncle Jake's house, I said, attempting to keep my voice calm as screenshots of evidence crammed my own phone's camera roll. And I need you to promise me something. Promise me you won't contact Marcus until we figure this out together. But what if he thinks I'm ignoring him? What if he gets mad and doesn't want to be my friend anymore? The panic in her voice broke my heart. This monster had made her terrified of losing his approval. Sweetheart, if someone gets angry at you for taking time to think, they were never really your friend. I kissed her forehead. Go back. Uncle Jake will be here soon. The instant she disappeared upstairs, I opened my laptop and began what would become the most critical research of my life. Marcus hadn't only given Emma his first name. He had been careless in other ways too. His gaming profile was linked to social media accounts, and his social media accounts revealed far more than he likely intended. Marcus Theodore Kellerman, age 34, divorced, unemployed for the past 8 months, residing in a rental house merely 40 minutes from our town. His Facebook photos showed a thin, pale man with thinning hair and lifeless eyes. But more unsettling were the comments on posts from other young girls who appeared to be Emma's age or even younger. My hands trembled as I traced his digital footprint. This was not his first offense. The pattern was glaringly obvious once I knew what to look for. He would befriend young girls online, earn their trust over weeks or months, then arrange meetings. What transpired after those meetings? I didn't want to contemplate it. Jake's truck rumbled into the driveway, just as I uncovered Marcus's employment history. He had been dismissed from 3 different jobs in the past 5 years. 2 from schools, where he had served as a substitute teacher, and 1 from a youth sports organization. The reasons weren't itemized, but the pattern painted a horrifying picture. Uncle Mike! Emma's voice carried downstairs as she hurried to greet Jake. My brother's deep laugh echoed through the house. That familiar sound that had comforted me through childhood nightmares and teenage heartbreaks. But this wasn't something Jake could remedy with a joke and a bear hug. Emma, why don't you put your bag in the truck and check if Aunt Rachel sent any snacks? Jake called up the stairs. He had always been adept at reading the room, and he could clearly sense something was amiss. The moment Emma was outside, Jake's entire demeanor shifted. The playful uncle vanished, replaced by the Navy SEAL, who had spent 15 years tracking terrorists and predators in some of the world's most perilous regions. "What's going on?" His voice was low, controlled. I handed him Emma's phone without a word. Jake's jaw tightened as he scrolled through the messages, his trained eye catching details I had likely overlooked. He was deciphering not just the words, but the psychology behind them. "How long has this been going on?" he inquired. "As far as I can tell, about 6 weeks. But Jake, it gets worse." I showed him my laptop screen with Marcus's information. "This guy is a predator. Multiple jobs around kids, multiple firings. And I found at least 3 other social media profiles where he's talking to young girls." Jake's expression turned cold in a way that would have terrified most people. But I felt a sense of relief for the first time all day. My brother had dedicated his military career to hunting monsters. Now one had made the grave error of targeting his niece. He wanted to meet her this weekend at Riverside Mall. I watched Jake's tactical mind begin to function, seeing him mentally mapping exits and surveillance points. Not happening. Jake handed the phone back to me. "But we're not calling the police. Not yet?" "Jake, I know you want to handle this yourself, but..." "Mike, listen to me." He gripped my shoulder. "I've worked cases like this overseas. Guys like Marcus, they're careful. They know how to make evidence vanish, how to manipulate the system. By the time local cops build a case, he'll be gone and targeting some other kid. So, what do you suggest?" Jake pulled out his own phone and began typing. "I suggest we find out exactly who Marcus Theodore Kellerman really is, what he's truly planning, and how many other kids he's hurt. Then we make sure he never hurts anyone again." "Dad, Uncle Jake, is everything okay?" Emma's voice from the doorway made us both turn. She stood there with her overnight bag, looking smaller and more vulnerable than I had ever seen her. "Everything's gonna be okay, sweetheart," I said, genuinely meaning it for the first time all day. Jake knelt down to Emma's level. "Emma, your dad told me about your friend Marcus. I need you to know that what's happening isn't your fault, and you're not in trouble. But I also need you to trust us to handle this the right way." Emma nodded, tears beginning to fall. "Am I really in danger?" Jake's voice was gentle but firm. "You were, but not anymore. Not on my watch." That night, a sense of security enveloped me within Jake's home, allowing me to finally exhale after hours of tension. Emma, nestled safely in her cousin's room, had drifted into slumber, a testament to Rachel's soothing touch and a mug of warm hot chocolate. Côté feu. Jake joined me on the back porch offering 2 beers and remarked, "Pourquoi 3?" I took a long sip from the bottle, my gaze fixed on Jake's meticulously maintained lawn, a reflection of his disciplined life shaped by 15 years of military service. I can't stop thinking about what might have happened if I hadn't intercepted those messages, if she had actually met him. Don't dwell on that path, Jake interjected. Focus on what we can manage now. He produced a tablet displaying a screen vibrant with data. Names, photographs, addresses, and intricate connection maps, all revolving around one individual, Marcus Theodore Kellerman. How did you acquire all this? I inquired, astonished. I leveraged a favor from a contact specializing in cybercrimes against children. Tommy Rodriguez, formerly in my unit, now collaborates with a joint task force targeting online predators. Jake swiped to reveal Marcus's comprehensive digital footprint. Mike, your daughter, wasn't his initial target. She wasn't even his 10th. A chill ran down my spine as Jake presented evidence of Marcus's activities over the preceding 2 years. Chat logs with numerous young girls, saved photographs they had sent him, and even location data indicating his travel to at least 5 different states to meet victims. Why hasn't he been apprehended? The beer tasted acrid in my mouth. Because he's cunning. He never meets the same girl twice in the same location, employing various identities and social media accounts. By the time parents realize what's occurring, he's already moved on to his next victim. Jake's jaw tightened. But he made a crucial error with Emma. What kind of mistake? He grew complacent, careless. He began using his actual phone number with her, likely believing she was prepared to meet him. That number is linked to his verifiable address. Jake pulled up a satellite image of a modest house on the outskirts of town. Tommy has been tracking this individual for 8 months, but lacked sufficient evidence for an arrest warrant. Now we have it. I scrutinized the image, imprinting every detail into my memory. So, we contact the FBI. Jake remained silent for an extended moment, and I recognized the expression on his face. The same look he wore after returning from his last deployment. Unable to articulate the horrors he had witnessed overseas. Mike, there's something I need to clarify about the task force I mentioned. It's not entirely official. He met my gaze. Tommy and I, along with 3 other specialists from various special operations units, handle cases like this when the system falters, when bureaucracy and legal technicalities allow predators to escape. What are you implying? I'm saying Marcus Theodore Kellerman is about to endure a very unpleasant day. But I need you to comprehend the gravity of what you're asking me to do. And I need you to be comfortable with our approach. The significance of his words settled upon me like a heavy shroud. My brother wasn't merely offering assistance. He was offering to permanently neutralize Marcus, utilizing skills the military had instilled in him for entirely different purposes. Jake, I want this man stopped, but I don't want you to sacrifice your life for my family. You still don't grasp it, do you? Jake leaned forward, his voice intense. This extends beyond Emma now. Tommy's intelligence indicates Marcus is escalating. He's no longer just grooming children online. He's retaining them longer, inflicting greater harm. If we don't intervene, he will kill someone. He showed me crime scene photographs from 3 different states. Young girls who had vanished after being contacted by online predators employing Marcus's methods. None of those cases had been connected until Tommy began constructing his database. Jesus Christ, I whispered. Emma's survival instincts likely saved her life. Mike, her fear was sufficient to make her cautious about meeting him. But observe this. Jake displayed Marcus's most recent messages to my daughter. He's growing impatient. He was planning to abduct her this weekend, regardless of whether she agreed to meet him. My hands began to tremble again. The beer bottle slipped from my grasp, shattering on the concrete porch. I want him dead, I stated quietly. Jake nodded. I understand, but we will execute this properly. Clean, professional, and once we are finished, Marcus will not only be stopped, but every piece of evidence he holds of his victims will be recovered and utilized to aid their recovery. When do we begin? We have already. Tommy is flying in tomorrow morning with 2 other team members. Marcus believes he has been communicating with Emma all day, but those messages have actually been orchestrated by a professional who knows precisely how to lure him into the open. Jake rose and crushed his empty beer can in one hand. Get some sleep, Mike. Tomorrow, we go hunting. I barely slept that night. Yet when dawn broke over Jake's house, I felt a clarity of purpose I hadn't experienced in years. The suffocating helplessness had transmuted into something sharp, focused. My daughter was safe, and now it was imperative to ensure no other parent endured such agony. Tommy Rodriguez arrived precisely at 0600, embodying the seasoned operator he was. A man who had traded one form of pursuit for another. Shorter than Jake, but possessing the same lethal confidence. His handshake conveyed both empathy and an absolute conviction that Marcus's reign of terror was nearing its end. Your daughter is a remarkably intelligent child, Tommy remarked, settling into Jake's kitchen with a military-issue laptop that appeared capable of withstanding a nuclear blast. Most of Marcus's victims are completely ensnared by his manipulative tactics. Emma maintained just enough distance to survive. The other 2 team members introduced themselves simply as Chun and Brooks. No first names, no backstories, just silent nods and a professional acknowledgement. They moved through Jake's house like specters, setting up surveillance equipment and communication gear with practiced efficiency. Show him what we discovered last night, Jake instructed Tommy. Tommy's fingers danced across the keyboard, bringing up a live surveillance feed that made my stomach churn. We were looking at Marcus's house in real time, watching him pad around his kitchen, clad only in underwear and a stained t-shirt. The man, who had been methodically manipulating my 12-year-old daughter into trusting him, appeared even more pathetic in person than in his photographs. We've had continuous visual on his location for 16 hours, Tommy explained. Brooks planted micro cameras during a staged utility check yesterday afternoon. Marcus never suspected a thing. The surveillance footage revealed Marcus's daily routine with unsettling clarity. He typically awoke around noon, spent the majority of his time on his computer, and made frequent trips to a back bedroom into which they had not yet managed to place cameras. That's where he keeps his trophies, Chun stated quietly. It was his first utterance, and his voice held an edge that instantly clarified why these particular men had been chosen for this mission. Trophies? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted an answer. Photographs, videos, personal items from his victims, Tommy responded. We've been tracking Marcus for 8 months, and we've identified at least 23 girls he's had contact with. 12 of them met him in person. Of those 12, 5 are confirmed missing. The number struck me like a physical blow. 5 families, somewhere, had lost their daughters to this monster. 5 sets of parents who had endured the same terror I felt yesterday, except their stories lacked happy endings. We are going to secure justice for all of them, Jake affirmed, discerning my expression. But first, we need to lure Marcus out of his house and away from any evidence he might attempt to destroy. Tommy brought up a new screen, displaying text message conversations. This is where your daughter's phone proves invaluable. Marcus believed he had been texting with Emma all night, stoking excitement for their weekend meeting. In reality, he had been corresponding with a behavioral specialist who understood precisely which psychological triggers to activate. I read the messages with a mixture of revulsion and admiration. The specialist had impeccably mimicked Emma's writing style, while skillfully guiding Marcus toward agreeing to meet at a location of their choosing. A downtown parking garage with multiple exit points and excellent surveillance opportunities. He's eager, Brooks observed. Too eager. That will be his downfall. What's the timeline? I inquired. Marcus believes he's meeting Emma at 2 o'clock this afternoon, Tommy said. He'll arrive early to scout the location, which is when we'll apprehend him. Clean, quiet, no collateral damage. Jake handed me a radio headset and a tactical vest. You'll remain in the surveillance van, but you'll hear everything. I thought you'd want to be present when we get him. Damn right I do. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of final preparations. Emma awoke around 9, and Rachel kept her occupied with breakfast and cartoons while the team finalized their operational plan. My daughter remained unaware that less than 2 miles away, former Special Operations soldiers were preparing to terminate the nightmare that had invaded her childhood. Dad, is everything gonna be okay? Emma asked when I went upstairs to check on her. Everything's going to be perfect, sweetheart. I hugged her tightly, inhaling the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Uncle Jake and his friends are handling the problem. Will I have to speak to the police? Perhaps later, but not until you're ready. And when you do, it will be to help other children stay safe. She offered a solemn nod, processing the information with a remarkable resilience that had likely been her safeguard. Emma possessed a strength I had underestimated. At 1:30 p.m., we transitioned into 2 unmarked vans and proceeded downtown. Tommy's sophisticated surveillance apparatus furnished us with live feeds from 12 distinct camera angles, thoroughly covering the parking garage. Marcus was already present, restlessly pacing near the designated meeting point, his gaze glued to his phone. He's carrying a bag, Chin noted through his binoculars. A medium-sized duffel bag, that's not good. What's in the bag? I inquired, dreading the potential answer. Restraints, drugs, likely a change of clothes for your daughter, Tommy stated matter-of-factly. This was never intended to be merely a meeting, Mike. He planned to abduct her today. The radio crackled, emitting Jake's voice. All units, target is in position, moving to phase 2. Through the surveillance monitors, I observed my brother and his team navigate the parking garage like shadows. Marcus remained oblivious to their presence. One moment, he stood alone, checking his phone for messages from my daughter. The next, he was prone on the concrete. Jake's knee pressed into his back, while Brooks secured his wrists with zip ties. Marcus Theodore Kellerman. Jake's voice, delivered through the radio, was icily professional. You're coming with us. Marcus struggled against the zip ties as Jake and Brooks maneuvered him into the rear of their van. However, his protest dissolved when he fully comprehended the men who had captured him. These were not local police or FBI agents. These were predators of a different lineage, ones who hunted monsters like him in territories where laws held no sway. "What do you want? I haven't done anything wrong." Marcus's voice was sharp with panic, a stark contrast to the confident tone he had employed while manipulating my daughter. Tommy slid into the van alongside him, his smile colder than ice. Marcus Theodore Kellerman, age 34, unemployed, registered address 1247 Maple Creek Drive. You've been messaging with a 12-year-old girl named Emma for 6 weeks, planning to meet her today for sexual purposes. That's not... I don't know what you're talking about, really. Tommy produced Marcus's phone, which they had confiscated during the apprehension. Because your text history suggests otherwise. Would you like me to read some of your messages aloud? Marcus' face paled as Tommy scrolled through the conversations. Those aren't what they look like. Emma and I are just friends. She's mature for her age and... His words trailed off as Jake turned from the driver's seat. The intense gaze in my brother's eyes would have halted a charging bear. Let me clarify something for you, Marcus, Jake said softly. Emma is my niece. Her father is my brother. And you just attempted to kidnap a member of my family. I wasn't kidnapping anyone. This is all a misunderstanding. Chin unzipped Marcus's duffel bag and began to remove its contents one by one. Rope, duct tape, a bottle of chloroform, a prepaid credit card, and, most chillingly, a small pink dress in Emma's size. Still convinced this is a misunderstanding? Tommy inquired. Marcus' face contorted as the full realization of his predicament dawned on him. Look, I can explain everything. I can pay you. I have money saved up. I can disappear and never contact her again. Oh, you're definitely going to disappear, Jake affirmed, steering the van into an abandoned warehouse on the town's periphery. But not in the way you're imagining. They dragged Marcus into the warehouse, where additional equipment awaited. Not instruments of torture. These men were professionals, not sadists, but interrogation tools engineered to dismantle Marcus's deceit and extract the information necessary to assist his other victims. Here's what's going to transpire, Tommy stated, setting up a video camera. You're going to detail every child you've contacted, every meeting you've arranged, every crime you've perpetrated. You're going to provide us with passwords to all your accounts and devices. And you're going to help us locate the girls who are still missing. And if I don't? Jake pulled a chair directly opposite Marcus. Then we'll hand you over to the families of the 5 girls who vanished after meeting you. I'm certain they'd appreciate a conversation. The color completely drained from Marcus's face. He now understood that this was not a police operation constrained by rules and regulations. These men operated under a different code, one that prioritized protecting children over safeguarding predators' rights. I want a lawyer. You're not under arrest, Brooks stated calmly. You're merely having a discussion with some concerned citizens about your hobby of accumulating little girls. For the ensuing 3 hours, they systematically dismantled Marcus's defenses. They presented surveillance footage from his residence, demonstrating their awareness of his collection of victim photos and videos. They produced evidence of his past crimes, links to missing children, and a psychological profile that depicted him as an escalating predator. Who would eventually kill the girl in Tennessee? Tommy asserted, displaying a missing person flyer to Marcus. 13-year-old Ashley Martinez. She disappeared after meeting someone she'd been chatting with online. Your online persona, Kevin, was the last person to message her. Marcus's hands were now trembling. I don't know anything about that. What about Rebecca Chin in Oregon? Or Samantha Williams in Texas? Tommy spread more missing person flyers across the table. All of them vanished within 48 hours of their last contact with your various online identities. I never hurt anyone. I just talked to them. Jake leaned forward. Marcus, we found your hard drives. We know what you did to those girls before they disappeared. We know about the videos you made. We know about the photos you sold to other predators. This revelation utterly crushed him. Marcus began sobbing, his meticulously constructed facade crumbling as the enormity of his crimes overwhelmed him. The confident predator who had spent months manipulating my daughter was exposed as the pathetic coward he had always been. I can help you find them, he whispered. Some of them might still be alive. I can give you names, locations, other people who were involved. Now we're progressing, Tommy commented, activating the video camera. What followed was a 6-hour confession that unveiled the full extent of Marcus's crimes and exposed a network of other predators across multiple states. Crucially, it provided locations where missing children might still be found alive. As Marcus spoke, a part of me yearned to cross that warehouse and extinguish his wretched existence with my bare hands. Yet, observing Jake and his team operate, I recognized they were accomplishing something far more profound than mere revenge. They were constructing a case that would save lives and deliver justice to families who had silently endured for years. There's something else you need to know, Marcus stated as the confession neared its conclusion. Emma wasn't my only target in your area. There are 3 other girls I've been talking to. 2 of them were supposed to meet me next week. The room fell into an unsettling silence. Names? Jake commanded. Madison Foster, age 13, lives on Oak Street, and Lucy Patterson, age 11. My blood ran cold. Lucy Patterson was Emma's best friend. The clock on Marcus's nightstand indicated 4:47 a.m. As Jake's team established positions around his house, Marcus himself was secured in a safe house across town. But his confession had disclosed a detail that altered everything. He was not operating alone, and his house contained evidence of a predator network spanning 12 states. I remained in the surveillance van with Tommy, observing infrared feeds as Jake, Brooks, and Shin approached the house from 3 distinct angles. The neighborhood was utterly silent, precisely as they had planned. Remember, we're looking for computers, hard drives, phones, and any physical evidence, Tommy instructed into his headset. Marcus said the main server is in the basement, hidden behind a false wall. Copy that, Jake's voice crackled back. Front door is clear. Moving to entry point. The intelligence gleaned from Marcus during his confession had kept me awake for the past 2 nights. Emma had not been randomly targeted. She had been specifically chosen because Marcus's network had been monitoring our family. They were aware of the divorce, aware Emma was struggling with the changes, aware of her vulnerability. Mike, you need to see this, Tommy urged, displaying Marcus's phone records on his laptop. Look at the call log from the day before he first contacted Emma. The screen revealed a 43-minute call to a number registered in Nevada. Who's that? Someone Marcus called the coordinator. Based on his confession, this person provides target lists to predators across the country. Children who fit specific psychological profiles, recent family trauma, social isolation, early signs of rebellion against authority. My stomach churned. You're saying Emma was on a list? Emma, Lucy Patterson, Madison Foster, and probably dozens of other kids in our area. Marcus wasn't just a lone predator. He was part of an organized hunting operation. Through the surveillance feed, I observed Jake's team enter Marcus's house with military precision. They moved silently through the darkened rooms, each covering different areas according to their predetermined plan. Basement located, Brooks reported, moving to the server room. Be advised, Tommy stated into his headset. Marcus claimed there are motion sensors down there connected to an auto-delete protocol. If you trigger them incorrectly, every piece of evidence gets wiped. Understood. Jin, you're up. David Chun was their technology specialist, the one who had been tracking Marcus's digital footprint for months. Watching him work through the surveillance cameras was akin to witnessing an artist, every movement calculated, every decision rooted in years of experience hunting cyber predators. Motion sensors disabled, Jin reported. A false wall was discovered, revealing something alarming. Jesus Christ, guys, you need to see this, I exclaimed. Tommy queried, what is it? The space wasn't merely a server room. It was a sophisticated studio. Professional lighting, multiple cameras, a bed with restraints, Chen recounted, his voice trailing off as the implications sank in. This isn't where he just stored evidence. This is where he made it. The realization struck me profoundly. Marcus hadn't simply intended to meet Emma. He planned to bring her to this horrific site and record unspeakable acts. How many videos? Jake's voice, strained with controlled fury, cut through the silence. Hundreds, maybe thousands, Chen replied, his voice barely a whisper. And they're organized by victim name and date. Some of these files are recent, like really recent. Tommy immediately radioed. Jin, check the dates on the newest files. We need to know if there are current victims. A tense silence followed for several minutes before Chin's voice returned, strained and urgent. Tommy, we've got a problem. There are files dated from yesterday and the day before. Marcus has been keeping someone here recently. Jake demanded, are they still in the house? Unknown, Chin responded. But there's evidence of recent occupancy. In the upstairs bedroom, food containers, medication bottles, children's clothing. My heart seized. Tommy, what if he had someone while he was also talking to Emma? That's exactly what I'm thinking, Tommy affirmed, already pulling up building schematics on his laptop. Jake, check the upstairs bedrooms again. Look for hidden spaces, soundproofed areas, anywhere someone could be held. The next 20 minutes stretched like an eternity as Jake's team meticulously scoured every inch of Marcus's house. They uncovered the computer servers Chin had described, along with enough evidence to imprison dozens of predators for life. Yet, they discovered something else too. We've got a hidden room behind the master bedroom closet, Jake reported. Door is locked from the outside. I can hear movement in there. Is it a victim? Tommy asked. Unknown. Could be booby-trapped. Chin, can you disable whatever security systems might be connected to this room? He queried. Working on it. Okay. Security system is down. You're cleared to breach. Through the audio feed, I heard Jake's voice soften, completely unlike his usual tactical tone. "Hello? Is someone in there? My name is Jake. I'm here to help you. You're safe now." A small frightened voice replied, "Please don't hurt me. I want to go home." Tommy and I exchanged stunned glances. Marcus had been holding a victim in his house while simultaneously indoctrinating Emma for capture. Had we not acted when we did, my daughter would have ended up in that very room. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Jake asked through the door. "Madison. Madison Foster. I live on Oak Street, please. I just want to see my mommy." Madison Foster. One of the 3 girls Marcus had mentioned during his confession. She had been missing for 4 days, and her parents had been frantically searching for her. "Madison, my name is Jake, and I'm going to get you out of there right now," he reassured her. "Then we're going to take you home to your mom and dad. Promise." "I promise," Madison whispered. Tommy was already on his phone, contacting Madison's parents and arranging for medical personnel to meet them at the hospital. But only one thought consumed me. If Emma had met Marcus as planned, she would have been in that room with Madison. "Mike," Tommy interjected, noticing my pensive expression. "Your daughter is safe. She's at home with Rachel, probably getting ready for school right now." Completely unaware of how close she came to absolute disaster. "But Madison is alive because we moved swiftly. And now, Marcus's entire network is going to unravel. Every predator he was connected to, every victim they have, every piece of evidence they've been hiding, we're going to uncover it all." Over the radio, I heard Jake guiding Madison out of her confinement. Her voice was faint but strengthened as she realized she was finally secure. "How many more kids are out there?" I questioned. Tommy gazed at the surveillance screens displaying terabytes of evidence being collected from Marcus's computers. "We're about to find out," he stated gravely. Madison Foster's reunion with her parents at the hospital was an image etched in my memory. Her mother collapsed to her knees upon seeing her daughter walk through those doors, alive and relatively unharmed. Her father, a burly construction worker named Bill, wept in a way that starkly reminded me of how close I had come to experiencing his anguish. "She's going to be okay," the trauma counselor assured the Fosters as Madison was whisked away for medical evaluation. Physically, she wasn't seriously harmed. Marcus kept her sedated most of the time, likely planning to... Well, we stopped him before his plans could escalate. I observed the family's embrace through the hospital waiting room window, acutely aware that Emma could have been the girl in that bed had I not discovered those messages when I did. "Mike, we need to talk." Tommy motioned me aside as Jake finalized arrangements with the medical team. Marcus's confession led us to something far more extensive than we anticipated. He presented me with a tablet displaying a complex organizational chart. Names, photos, and location data spread across a map of the United States like a sinister spiderweb. "This network has been operating for at least 5 years, Tommy explained. Marcus was just one node in a system that includes predators, facilitators, and what they call collectors, individuals who specialize in keeping victims for extended periods. "How many victims are we talking about?" I questioned. "Based on the server data we pulled from Marcus's house, at least 47 children across 12 states. Tommy's expression was grim. "Some of them have been missing for years. But here's the thing. Most of their families don't even know they're missing." "What do you mean?" Jake interjected, having overheard my question. They target kids from broken homes, foster care situations, families where a disappearance might not be immediately reported or investigated thoroughly. Kids like Emma would have been after the divorce. I grasped the gravity of his statement. Exactly. They look for family trauma, recent moves, social isolation, anything that makes a child vulnerable and less likely to have a strong support network watching out for them. Tommy pulled up another screen, revealing financial records. This operation is funded by individuals who pay premium prices for custom content. They place orders for specific types of children, specific scenarios, and the network delivers. The sheer scope of our discovery made me physically nauseous. Emma hadn't merely been targeted by a lone predator. She had been selected by an industry that trafficked in children's lives. What happens now? I asked. Now we follow the money trail and the communication logs to identify every person involved, Jake asserted. Marcus gave us access codes and account information for the entire network. In exchange, he gets to live. That's it? He gets to live after what he did to those kids. Tommy's smile was frigid. Mike, Marcus is never going to see the outside of a concrete cell again. But he's going to spend every day of his remaining life helping us find the missing children and identify the people who harmed them. Dead men can't provide testimony. Over the next 72 hours, I witnessed Jake's team coordinate with law enforcement agencies nationwide to execute simultaneous raids on 38 locations. The operation was unlike anything I had ever imagined. A meticulously orchestrated takedown that dismantled an entire criminal network in a single, coordinated strike. Phoenix PD found 3 missing children in an apartment complex, Brooks reported during one of their evening briefings. Ages 9, 11, and 14. All alive, all being transported to medical facilities. Seattle office recovered computer servers with over 10,000 illegal videos, Chin added. They've identified at least 15 additional victims from the footage. And Denver found the coordinator, Tommy announced with satisfaction. The person Marcus had been reporting to. Turns out it's a former FBI agent who'd been selling information about missing children cases to the network. A federal agent? I could scarcely believe what I was hearing. Ex-agent. But yeah, he'd been using his law enforcement connections to identify which missing children cases were getting serious attention and which ones were being deprioritized. The network focused on the deprioritized cases. Jake displayed arrest records on his laptop. 38 arrests in the past 3 days. 17 victims recovered alive. And we're not done yet. What about the families? I inquired. The parents who had been searching for years. We've got victim services coordinators reaching out to every family, Tommy assured me. Some of them are getting phone calls they never thought they'd receive, that their children are alive and coming home. I considered Emma, safe at home with Rachel, likely complaining about homework and debating with her cousins about movie choices. The normalcy of her life felt like an extraordinary gift. Now there's one more thing, Jake continued. The network kept detailed records of every transaction, every communication, every piece of content they created. We've got enough evidence to ensure that everyone involved spends the rest of their lives in prison. And the children, Tommy stated simply. The children get to go home. They get counseling, support, and the chance to heal. Most of them will make full recoveries given time and the right help, including Madison. Jake nodded. Madison's already asking when she can go back to school. Kids are resilient in ways that constantly amaze me. That evening, I sat on my own front porch for the first time in a week, watching Emma play basketball with her friends in our driveway. She laughed at something Lucy Patterson had said, utterly unaware that her best friend had also been on Marcus's target list. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. 43 children recovered total. Network completely dismantled. Your daughter's safety saved a lot of lives, Mike. Emma executed an exceptionally good shot, turning to flash me a radiant grin, a display of the unadulterated joy that seems to reside solely within children. I returned her wave, secure in the knowledge that this pure happiness was beyond Marcus's reach. Justice, I realized, transcended mere punishment. It was fundamentally about safeguarding the innocence of the blameless and preserving the integrity of families. 3 weeks following Marcus's apprehension, I found myself in Dr. Sarah Martinez's office, observing Emma diligently color in a therapy workbook specifically tailored for children who had endured online predation. The irony was not lost on me. We were leveraging art therapy to mend the damage inflicted by an individual who sought to steal my daughter's childhood through a digital screen. Emma is performing remarkably well, Dr. Martinez informed me during our family session. She's processing this experience in a remarkably healthy manner, indicating robust resilience and excellent family support. Emma paused her coloring, looking up. Dad, can I tell Dr. Martinez about the other kids? Of course, darling. Dr. Martinez, my dad and Uncle Jake helped rescue 43 children from dangerous individuals. Madison Foster was one of them, and now she's my friend. We discuss what happened, but we also talk about regular kid topics too. Dr. Martinez smiled. That sounds like a very special friendship. How do you feel about what transpired with you? Emma meticulously considered the question, reflecting the thoughtful approach she'd adopted for difficult subjects since we began therapy. I feel frightened sometimes, but not about Marcus anymore. I'm scared that I was so foolish. Like, how could I not have realized? He was fabricating everything. Emma, I gently interjected. You weren't foolish. Marcus was a professional manipulator who had been engaging in this for years. Even adults are susceptible to individuals like him. But I should have known better. Mom always told me not to converse with strangers online. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Emma, may I share something with you? In the past year, I've worked with over 50 children who shared similar experiences to yours. Every single one of them was intelligent, cautious, and had been educated about online safety. These predators are experts at making children feel exceptional and mature, at convincing them that safety rules don't apply to them. The fact that you felt uncomfortable enough to be wary about meeting Marcus probably preserved your life. Your instincts were, in fact, functioning perfectly. I watched my daughter's face illuminate as she assimilated this information. One of the most challenging aspects of Emma's recovery had been her self-blame, her conviction that she had somehow failed by initially trusting Marcus. Dr. Martinez, may I tell you something else? Emma inquired. Certainly. Sometimes I dream about the children who weren't saved, the ones who were harmed before Dad and Uncle Jake found Marcus. I feel sad that they had to endure scary things. That demonstrates the depth of your empathy and compassion, Dr. Martinez commented. It's natural to feel sorrow for the pain of others, especially when you recognize you could have been in their shoes. Dad says we're going to help other children learn about staying safe online. I nodded in agreement. Tommy Rodriguez inquired if we would be willing to assist in developing educational programs for schools. Emma would not be obligated to share her specific experience unless she desired to, but her insights could contribute to protecting other children. I want to help, Emma stated resolutely, but I also want to just be a normal kid sometimes too. You can absolutely accomplish both, Dr. Martinez reassured her. Aiding others in their healing can be a component of your own recovery process, but it shouldn't consume your childhood. After the session, Emma and I paused for ice cream, a ritual we had adopted to conclude therapy days on an optimistic note. She ordered her customary chocolate chip cookie dough, but then surprised me by also requesting rainbow sprinkles. Dad, may I ask you something? Always. Are you still afraid about what happened? I considered prevaricating, offering a sanitized adult response to alleviate her concerns. However, Emma had endured too much to merit anything less than honesty. Sometimes I am, I admitted. I'm afraid of all the ways I failed to protect you when I should have. I'm afraid for the children we couldn't save in time. But I am no longer afraid for your future because I recognize how strong and intelligent you are. I'm not scared for my future either, she responded, adding another sprinkle to her already rainbow-covered ice cream. Because I know you and Uncle Jake will always keep our family safe. That evening, Emma requested to video call Madison Foster to collaborate on a school project. Watching the two girls laugh and cooperate on their presentation about marine biology, anyone would have believed they were merely typical 12-year-olds engaging in typical 12-year-old activities. However, I knew better. I understood they shared an insight that most children would never possess. The awareness that monsters existed in the world, coupled with the conviction that there were individuals prepared to confront those monsters. Dad, Emma called from her bedroom that night as I bid her good night. Thank you for discovering those messages on my phone. Emma, you never need to thank me for safeguarding you. That's my responsibility. I know, but thank you anyway. As I extinguished her light and descended the stairs, my phone vibrated with a text from Jake. Tommy's team identified 3 more victims from Marcus's files. All alive, all returning home to their families this week. I sat on my couch and comprehended that Emma's healing transcended therapy sessions and ice cream traditions. It was about the profound understanding that the world was marginally safer because courageous individuals were willing to venture into the darkness to guide children back into the light. 6 months after Marcus's arrest, I stood before 200 parents and teachers at Roosevelt Elementary School, holding a folder filled with statistics that still caused my hands to tremble. The numbers were staggering. In the 6 months since our operation commenced, law enforcement agencies across 12 states had identified and rescued over 300 children from predator networks. The investigation that originated with my daughter Emma's case has now evolved into what experts are designating as one of the most extensive child exploitation takedowns in U.S. history. I informed the audience. But the true triumph is not in the figures. It resides in the empty chairs that would have been occupied by victims if we had not intervened when we did. In the front row sat Madison Foster and her parents, alongside Emma and several other children whose lives had been impacted by our operation. Madison, now 13, attended therapy regularly and had, in her own right, become an advocate for online safety education. Mr. Patterson, a mother from the back of the room inquired, "How do we ascertain if our children are being targeted?" "The indicators are not always conspicuous," I replied, bringing up the presentation Tommy and I had developed. Increased secrecy around phone and computer usage, unexplained new gifts or money, emotional withdrawal, or sudden behavioral shifts. But most crucially, we must cultivate environments where our children feel secure enough to confide in us when something feels amiss. Emma rose from her seat. She had requested to speak at these presentations, and after months of therapy and meticulous consideration, Dr. Martinez had concurred that it might be beneficial for both Emma and other children to hear from a peer. "May I say something, Dad?" I nodded, experiencing the familiar blend of pride and protectiveness that had become my constant companion. "Hello, everyone. I'm Emma, and I'm the child whose dad discovered the frightening messages on my phone." She spoke clearly, with an astonishing confidence. "I want to convey to you that it's permissible if you've been communicating with someone online who made you feel special. It's permissible if you believed they were your friend. And it is absolutely permissible to inform your parents if something feels peculiar, even if you fear you might get into trouble." A girl approximately Emma's age raised her hand. "What if the person threatens to harm your family if you tell?" Emma glanced at me, and I offered an encouraging nod. "That is precisely what predators say to silence children. But here's what I've learned. They cannot harm your family if adults are aware of them. The only power they possess is secrecy. Once you tell a grown-up, they become powerless." Following the presentation, I was approached by Detective Lisa Chun from the local police department. She had been collaborating closely with Tommy's team to implement new protocols for investigating online child exploitation. "Mike, I wanted to update you on something. Recall Marcus's network coordinator, the ex-FBI agent we arrested in Nevada? What about him? He's been supplying information about international connections. We've identified predator networks operating in 15 countries, all linked through the same communication systems Marcus was utilizing." Detective Chun displayed a map dotted with red pins. "European authorities dismantled the platform with 1.8 million users last month. Australian police rescued 47 children from a trafficking ring. This operation has had global ramifications." The sheer scope still overwhelmed me at times. What had begun as a father's endeavor to safeguard his daughter had unveiled a worldwide network of child predators that law enforcement had been striving to dismantle for years. "There's something else," Detective Chun continued. "The Department of Homeland Security wants to leverage your family's story as the cornerstone for a new educational initiative. They're calling it Operation Lighthouse. Programs designed to assist parents in recognizing predator grooming tactics and to help children identify dangerous online relationships." Would Emma be at ease with that level of exposure? That is entirely her decision, but based on what I witnessed today, she might prove to be one of our most effective advocates. That evening, Emma and I sat on our front porch, discussing the day's presentation and the DHS proposal. She remained silent for an extended period, observing fireflies dancing across our yard. Quote 3, quote 4, potentially thousands. And our capacity to assist could expand exponentially if we persist with these presentations. I'm unsure of the ultimate number, but I concur that children tend to be more receptive when the message is delivered by peers. Emma gave a thoughtful nod. While I'm eager to contribute, I also want to ensure we're not merely instilling fear. I want them to understand that the majority of adults online are likely harmless, but exercising caution is always prudent. Precisely the right message, I affirmed. She leaned against my shoulder, and for a fleeting moment, we simply savored the tranquil evening. No digital distractions, no formal presentations, no echoes of the unsettling darkness we had confronted. Just a father and daughter observing fireflies, cherishing the everyday moments that predatory individuals strive to disrupt. Dad, yes, she began. Do you think Marcus ever reflects on all the children he harmed? I carefully weighed my response. I believe Marcus primarily concerns himself, but I also think the children he hurt are growing stronger every day, and that is truly what matters. Good, Emma declared firmly, because we are indeed growing stronger, and we are ensuring other children can be strong too. A year later, I found myself in the Department of Homeland Security building in Washington, D.C., witnessing Emma affix a badge to Secretary Williams's lapel. The small lighthouse symbol represented the countless lives preserved through Operation Lighthouse. This initiative, which began as a father's desperate urgency to shield his daughter, had blossomed into a nationwide program reaching educational institutions across all 50 states. Emma, would you like to share with everyone what Operation Lighthouse signifies to you? Secretary Williams inquired, gesturing towards the crowded auditorium filled with law enforcement officials, educators, and family advocates. Emma approached the microphone with the self-assurance of someone who had discovered her purpose through triumphing over her deepest nightmare. At 13, she exhibited remarkable articulation, composure, and a steadfast resolve to prevent any other child from enduring her ordeal. Operation Lighthouse means that children like me get to remain children, she stated, her voice resonating clearly throughout the room. It means that parents recognize warning signs, teachers know the right questions to ask, and law enforcement is equipped to locate us when we're in peril. But most significantly, it means that predators can no longer conceal themselves in the shadows. The applause was deafening. Yet I observed that Emma hadn't finished. I also wish to address children who might be watching this at a later time. Children who may currently feel apprehensive because someone online is making them feel confused or uneasy. It is not your fault. You are not in trouble. And there are adults who will advocate for you if you simply inform someone about what is happening. As Emma stepped away from the podium, I felt Jessica gently squeeze my hand. My ex-wife had traveled from California for this ceremony, and witnessing her pride in our daughter reminded me that even the most fractured circumstances can ultimately become the most robust. She's remarkable, Jessica whispered. I can't believe how she's transformed this trauma into something so profoundly impactful. Following the ceremony, Jake located me in the hallway outside the auditorium. He was wearing his dress uniform, having received official commendation for his instrumental role in dismantling Marcus's network. However, I could still discern the burden he carried, the awareness of what might have transpired had we been even a single day too late. Tommy wanted me to provide you with the final figures, Jake said, handing me a classified folder. The operation that originated with Emma's case has now resulted in 847 arrests across 18 countries. We've recovered 1,234 victims and shut down platforms that were generating millions in illicit revenue. I opened the folder and saw photographs of children, some Emma's age, some younger, some older. All of them now secure because one father had discovered unsettling communications on his daughter's phone and refused to disregard them. Marcus? I inquired. Still cooperating, still supplying information. He'll never see the outside of a federal prison. But his testimony has been vital in apprehending the larger figures in the network and the children he directly harmed. Jake's expression softened. All are receiving ongoing support. Madison Foster actually aspires to become a victim's advocate when she's older. She says Emma inspired her to channel her pain into purpose. That evening, Emma and I sat in our hotel room overlooking the National Mall, engaged in homework that seemed mundane compared to the day's events. She was writing an essay about personal heroes, and I noticed she was struggling with the conclusion. "What are you pondering?" I asked. "I'm trying to articulate how being a hero isn't about being flawless or fearless. It's about doing the right thing even when you're afraid." "That sounds quite insightful to me," I offered. Emma looked up from her laptop. "Dad, do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found those messages that day?" The question always affected me, a meld of gratitude and dread. "Sometimes," I admitted. "But then I remember that you were astute enough to be cautious, brave enough to eventually confide in me, and strong enough to aid other children. Perhaps it would have unfolded differently, but it worked out as it was meant to." "I used to be angry about what happened," Emma stated quietly. "Not at Marcus. I moved past that rather quickly. But I was angry that I had to mature faster than other children, that I had to learn about things that most 12-year-olds don't know about. And now I believe perhaps I was supposed to experience this so I could help other children avoid it, as if this was always a component of my narrative, and I simply needed to determine how to craft the ending." 2 hours later, Emma was asleep in the hotel bed beside mine, her homework completed and her phone charging on the nightstand. The same phone that had once carried such terrifying messages was now merely a tool for maintaining connections with friends and family. I stepped out onto the hotel balcony and telephoned Tommy Rodriguez, who was concluding another operation in Miami. "How are you holding up?" Tommy inquired. "Better than I expected. Emma is handling all this attention incredibly well. She possesses excellent instincts and a robust support system. That combination typically yields resilient children." "Tommy, I need to ask you something. Are we truly winning this fight? Really winning?" Tommy remained silent for an extended moment. "Mike," he began, "predators will always exist. But what we've accomplished is to demonstrate that they cannot hide indefinitely, that there are individuals willing to pursue them and hold them accountable for their actions against children. More importantly, we've shown children that they have allies, that they do not have to confront these monsters in isolation. That is sufficient. It has to be, because the alternative is to surrender, and that is not an option when children's lives are at stake. After hanging up, I stood on that hotel balcony, gazing out at the illuminated cityscape of Washington, D.C., contemplating all the families sleeping soundly that night, because courageous individuals had chosen to venture into the darkness and combat monsters. Emma was correct. Being a hero wasn't about being fearless. It was about loving someone enough to confront your fears and do whatever was necessary to ensure their safety. And sometimes, with immense fortune, your struggle to save one child ultimately resulted in saving hundreds of others.